To support immediate needs in First Nations, Inuit and Métis Nation communities, we are setting up a distinctions-based Indigenous Community Support Fund.
Tonight, federal COVID-19 funding is announced for Indigenous communities.
If you have trap lines, hunting areas, we're asking communities to go out for rest periods of a week or more.
And pandemic planning advice for remote northern communities. Good evening. Welcome to APTN National News. I'm Melissa Ridgen. As part of an $82 billion emergency response package unveiled by Prime Minister Justin Trudeau today, the federal government says it's allocating more than $300 million to Indigenous communities. Jamie Pashagamskam has more from Ottawa.
From his residence in Ottawa, where the Prime Minister and his family remain in self-isolation, Trudeau said more support is coming for Indigenous communities.
And to support immediate needs in First Nations, Inuit and Métis Nation communities, we are setting up a distinctions-based Indigenous Community Support Fund. This list is by no means exhaustive, but these are some of the things our government is doing to make sure that no matter where you live, what you do or who you are, you will get the support you need during this time. In Canada, public health should never hinge on financial considerations.
Trudeau didn't offer any details on the $305 million Indigenous Community Support Fund, nor did the COVID-19 Cabinet Committee during their press conference afterward. Indigenous Services Minister Mark Miller is on the committee, but was again notably absent today. The committee did confirm the number of cases has climbed to nearly 600 in Canada, with 8 deaths, and the virus is still spreading.
What is most concerning is that over the past week, we've started to see a sharp rise in cases, and a number of provinces have reported cases with no links to travel. This is a signal that there is some degree of community spread, so our time to act is now.
Despite the lack of information on what the emergency funding will mean for Indigenous communities, Trudeau said the feds are in constant communication with Indigenous leaders. Jamie Pashagamskam, APTN National News, Ottawa.
To Quebec, where during today's press briefing, Premier François Legault confirmed the province's first death due to COVID-19. The patient, an elderly woman from Lanaudière region, did not contract the virus while traveling. As of this broadcast, there are 94 confirmed cases of COVID in Quebec, 6 of whom are hospitalized. The first loss of life, Legault says, is a sobering reminder to stay home and maintain distance from others.
I think it's too bad that we have to have a proof, but we have a proof today of the importance of doing so. We have a debt, and we think this person have met somebody who traveled. So it's very dangerous.
To Manitoba, there are 15 reported cases of COVID-19. While none have been from a First Nation, that hasn't stopped the organization representing northern communities from developing a pandemic plan. Today, Manitoba, Kiiwetinawe, Ogamakanak announced that specific recommendations exist for remote First Nations. Here's Brittany Hobson with more on that.
It's been less than a week since Manitoba recorded its first case of COVID-19, and Indigenous organizations are taking steps to address the pandemic.
And we find ourselves in perilous times. We find ourselves in a precarious situation. But I think that our people are resilient, have always been resilient. We have been through many epidemics.
Manitoba Kiiwetinawe Ogimaakanak Grand Chief Garrison Settee says his group has been developing a plan for more than a month. It includes several recommendations for First Nations. Both federal and provincial governments have encouraged social distancing, but overcrowded homes is a reality for many communities. Dr. Barry Lavalley suggests framing it differently.
So we're really focusing on family-based support. So if there are a couple of people who are ill in the home, that would end up being a family isolation or kind of just getting the families to work together in that context.
Lavalley is the medical advisor for MKO. He urged communities to postpone gatherings with 10 or more people as opposed to the province's recommendation of 50 or more. This is due to reasons including pre-existing health conditions and lack of access to health services. Other recommendations include closing community borders to limit people coming in and going out. The Valley also urged people to rely on traditional practices.
If you have trap lines, hunting areas, we're asking communities to go out for rest periods of a week or more. We're asking our traditional people, our medicine keepers, we're going to support them in the delivery of our own traditional medicines as both prevention and treatment.
There are no confirmed cases of COVID-19 in any First Nation in Manitoba, but La Valley says community members should just assume the virus has spread. Testing is available at health centers and nursing stations in the community. However, MKO is hoping to change this by setting up alternate stations at schools or in empty buildings. Brittany Hobson, APTN National News, Winnipeg.
Thanks, Brittany. With more deaths and more cases of COVID-19, British Columbia yesterday declared a province-wide state of emergency. APTN's Tina House joins us from Vancouver to give us an update on what's happening in that province.
It's a beautiful sunny day here at Kitts Point in Vancouver, where people are out enjoying this beautiful sunny weather and just for a moment trying to put aside their worries and concerns over COVID-19. As we all know, we're dealing with very extraordinary times right now, meaning that there are extraordinary measures being put in place to protect the citizens in this country. Just today, the province of BC declared a state of emergency, essentially deploying all of the resources between federal, provincial, and local governments to assist citizens that are concerned about paying their rents, about buying groceries. For instance, they put in place a ban against hoarding. People that are buying way too much and trying to resell that online is also going to be illegal. Just in the city alone, here in Vancouver, restaurants are no longer allowed to serve citizens. So now they're moving to a more takeout and delivery type of a service. Just yesterday here in BC, we had 83 new confirmed cases of COVID-19. So the situation is getting dire. Please stay home if you're sick. They're saying that if you feel fatigue, if you feel tired, if you have a dry cough and maybe a fever, please call 811 or your local doctor to get further information and possibly get tested for COVID-19. Please stay safe, my friends. Wash your hands, take care of yourself, and take care of each other. Back to you in studio.
Thanks for that, Tina. We need to take a break, but we've got more COVID-19 developments coming up after. And here's a look at tomorrow's weather forecast for the eastern and central parts of the country. Starting off in the east, we've got 0 and sunshine for St. John's, 2 and sunny in Charlottetown. Happy Valley, Goose Bay, -6 and sunny skies, -16 and sunshine for Kuujjuaq. Sept-Îles, -2 and sunny Quebec City, +2 and sunshine. Cloud and 4 degrees for Sault Ste. Marie, Windsor 12 and rain. Sioux Lookout -5 and snow, Kapuskasing 0 and snow. -15 for Puckatawagan and sunny skies there, -13 for God's Lake and Norway House and sunshine. -9 and snow for Winnipeg and Brandon, -8 and snow for Dauphin. -6 and cloudy skies for Swift Current, -9 and sunshine for North Battleford. -13 and sunny for Uranium City and Stony Rapids, and L'Orange -10 for Buffalo Narrows and Meadow Lake. Welcome back. Newfoundland and Labrador has declared a public health emergency to slow the spread of COVID-19. Those who do not comply with provincial orders can face fines or even jail time. The province has 3 presumptive cases, though the government has not said which communities they're in. At a press conference earlier today, Premier Dwight Ball said Indigenous communities are getting the same treatment as the rest of the province.
In Newfoundland and Labrador, it's the Public Health Services for Nunavut that they are the responsibility of the Nunavut government, and from Indigenous groups as well as the Innu. We are working very closely with them. And so, as I said, the measures that are in place are very similar to what we would see within Newfoundland and Labrador.
After Ontario declared a state of emergency yesterday, confirmed cases of COVID-19 in the province has risen to 212. First Nations in the province have been assured that declaring states of emergency will not be necessary in order to access federal funding to address the pandemic. Association of Iroquois and Allied Indians Grand Chief Joel Abrams says that chiefs are communicating with Indigenous services daily via teleconference.
In a nutshell, what's happening through most First Nations in Ontario and PTOs and First Nations is they're actually trying to implement a lot of the same measures that have been taking place around Canada and Ontario specifically, around social distancing, self-isolation, limiting access to public buildings, work from home arrangements, also at the same time looking at implementing pandemic plans and working with.
Nunavut can still count itself among the small percentage of Canadian regions without a case of COVID-19, but the government of Nunavut has declared a public health emergency anyway. Public gatherings are banned. People are being asked to self-isolate for 14 days after returning from outside of Nunavut, and government workers will be asked to work from home starting on Friday. Nunavut's health minister urged residents to think of each other and follow the new rules.
Everybody needs to participate. Everybody needs to buy into these plans. Otherwise, all these things that we're doing, all these drastic measures we're taking are to no avail.
The government of the Northwest Territories is also calling a state of emergency. They say it's just a matter of time before they see a case of COVID-19.
But we're prepared, and we can slow the spread of COVID-19 and mitigate its impact on our
In preparation, government officials say they'll reposition their staff to deal with the influx of calls to health centers and limit non-essential medical travel. Chief Public Health Officer Kami Kandola told media this afternoon that it is critical to keep the spread of the virus at bay.
Join our Yukon and Nunavut governments in declaring a public health emergency. We stand together. In the three territories as we speak, none of us have had confirmed cases of COVID-19. We are watching what's happening in Canada as we speak.
As she said, there are still no reported cases of COVID-19 in any of the territories. However, this morning, Yukon's Chief Medical Officer of Health, joined by Premier Sandy Silver, declared a public health emergency there.
With
New public health measures coming from the declaration include the suspension of all classes until after April 15th. All public recreation facilities in the Yukon will be closed after today, and the 3 Yukon hospitals will be closed with some limited exceptions.
All of these decisions are difficult decisions, but they also had to be made appropriately and rapidly. But the health and safety of patients, families, clinical teams is important as preparations are going on for the potential or anticipated increase in demand for services.
While businesses across Canada and the world are feeling the financial hit from the COVID epidemic, Indigenous small business owners and artists are also hit. APTN's Chris Stewart has more.
This is a pair of the moccasins.
Natalie Pepin was supposed to be teaching a class on how to make moccasins, but that isn't happening anytime soon. The small business owner had to cancel all her workshops. Moccasins, beading, tanning, all of them.
This is my income, and so we had a full slate of workshops scheduled for the month of March, and we're not hosting any of them. And so that's pretty devastating for us. For the centre also, where we host our workshops, many Indigenous cultural workshops happen at the Grow Centre, and they've all been cancelled. So for that business owner, who is also a Métis woman, it's also devastating.
Pepin says her income this month is zero. And for a new business trying to survive, the timing of this virus really hurts.
To take a hiatus off of a new business for a month means that the momentum you have going as a business owner slows down. It means that the people who were considering are now not considering joining us.
Paul Sisiquasis is an accomplished author and photographer. He says he has lost thousands of dollars so far.
It's been pretty devastating. I've had several readings canceled this month, which, that amounts to a few $100s maybe each. But also I have a major photography exhibition that was supposed to be opening at the Grenville in Calgary next week. And so that's not just the cancellation of the exhibition and the money out of there, which would be thousands, but also as we speak, I should be up north doing workshops at a Dene youth camp. So that also was postponed.
Cece Quasis says he is concerned about Indigenous artists who are struggling to pay the bills.
Even though I've lost thousands this month, I at least have a roof over my head, and I have a family network I can kind of rely on to get me through a pinch. But there are artists who are, either living on their own, or perhaps they're single parents and they have to pay the rent. So I'm really concerned for those people.
There may be some hope. Prime Minister Trudeau announced $82 billion for a COVID-19 stimulus plan, including $27 billion for Canadian workers and businesses. Both Pepin and Cece Quasis are hoping COVID-19 goes away sooner rather than later. Chris Stewart, APTN National News, Edmonton.
Certainly lots of people in that boat right now. It's time for us to take another break. When we come back, we have highlights from today's In Focus, where we talked about how First Nations communities are coming together to help face this virus. Here's the rest of tomorrow's weather forecast for the West and the North. We'll start off in northern Alberta, where we've got -13 and sunshine for Fort Chip, -3 and sunny for Peace River. -4 and cloud for Edmonton, -6 and snow for Calgary. Tofino 10 degrees, mostly sunny skies, 12 for Vancouver, Victoria and Campbell River. 1 and rain for Fort Nelson, 8 and sunshine for Smithers. Dawson, mostly sunny and 1 degree, 2 with a mix of sun and cloud for Whitehorse. Trout Lake and Fort Laird, 0 degrees, same with Fort Simpson, -12 for Yellowknife and sunny skies. Inuvik 2 and sunshine, -5 and sunny in Colville Lake. -25 for Chesterfield, Whale Cove, sunny skies there, -24 and Resolute. Shalyoak, -30 and sunshine. Clyde River, -21 and snow, 13 and snow for Iqaluit. To maintain social distancing, today's In Focus guest joined me remotely from their communities. COVID-19, of course, was the topic of discussion. We talked to women who aren't buying into the panic, and who are instead are caring for the most vulnerable in their areas. Here's some highlights.
I think that those of us who are healthy know that we're giving all the energy we can, and that we might not be healthy soon. So I think we need to give the energy while we have it. And I think that people are in preparatory stages, and we're trying to learn as much as we can. The cities are going to get hit very differently than the communities, and so I think we need to be preventative and cautious. And Indigenous people, we always take care of ourselves anyway. We know how to barter. I don't think we're in fear as much as the non-Indigenous people, and I think we're trying to share our knowledge with them and show them that we've been through crises before. Yeah. And we know how to do it.
I'm curious, Rachel, do you see, when you see something like this going on, do you think that it brings out the worst in people, or do you think it brings out the best in people?
Well, I think Jolene said it correctly. Like, as Indigenous people, we're collective, we're community-minded. So in our community, there are going to be people who are concerned for the people and for the land and for the waters. And that's our role as Indigenous people. And since we're spread out, we're semi-isolated as it is. So we're going to do as much as we can to assist. And I think it's also a matter of keeping our spirituality. You talked about the teas and the other things that are being used, the medicines that we have that we are being used. I think it's really reclamation, decolonization, and remembering who we are, and that those skills will always serve us into the future, and that we should be able to share those with the non-Indigenous public so that they can learn, what it is to help one another and be part of a collective or be part of a people.
Clothing north of 60 is important not only for function, but as a way to share culture and pass on Métis, Inuit, and Dene traditions. Our reporter Charlotte Mort-Jacobs sits down with some of the best-known names in northern fashion.
It takes supreme attention to detail when working with traditional furs and hides. Designers in the Northwest Territories carry on culture passed down from generations through sewing and beading. The Naka Indigenous Cultural Gala held in Deta NWT this month featured well-known artists and designers sharing their collection for the first time. Berna Bolio is a Clichon seamstress, known for her traditional ceremonial clothing and customized bridal and formal wear.
To me, it's for their one big day for them. And for me to be designing that, I feel really proud. I feel very privileged doing that.
She's well educated with diplomas and certificates in fashion design, business, and finance, and had to persevere prejudice in schooling.
We had 3 Native students before, and they never made it. And I said, you haven't tried me. I'm just like, my determination is just so overwhelming. I really want it so badly. So he asked me, if you can go out there and find a sponsor, I will take you in. So that afternoon, I got Native women to sponsor me.
Alice Wheatflat says the opening prayer for the gala. She was born in 1949 in Willowday, near Yellowknife.
They're new kind, you know, they're tiny little beads in there.
She was raised by her aunties, who all sewed.
Back then, they didn't have no beads. They just sewed embroidery thread. Yeah, there's not much color, maybe 3 or 4 colors. Even the beads came in later in the 60s, and it has green, 2 different color, green, yellow, and orange.
By the age of 9, she sewed her first mocks, with some minor hiccups.
This is wraparound, right? And then at the end, you're supposed to cut this piece, and then you fold it.
Yes.
Like that I forgot to do. I forgot to do that one. In the church, and everybody behind this giggling. My aunties are, you know, they're supposed to be praying, not giggling, you know.
Now Wheatflat can make just about anything, for anyone.
They're so proud. They always tell me, I know you made this, they tell me, you know, when I see them downtown.
Sharon Firth wowed audiences on the catwalk for the first time. 4-time Gwich'in Olympian turned to sewing as a way of healing.
Once my twin sister passed away, I had to find something to do. What is Sharon Firth going to do now? And I had no idea. I was so down in the dumps and lost, and because half of me was gone. So I just thought, okay, what would Shirley do?
Along with sealskin, she uses fabrics she picked up from her travels. With every stitch brings satisfaction.
And this here is silk, and the material is from England. The covers, for example, that's my childhood, and that's what I seen my mom wearing, and my aunts from McClavick and McPherson, and, you know, they were such beautiful sewers and seamstresses.
From mucklucks to baby belts to mitts, each tells a story, made with pride and love. Charlotte Mort-Jacobs, APTN National News, Deta.
Wonderful women and wonderful way to end our newscast for tonight. Thanks for that, Charlotte Mort-Jacobs. We're all out of time for your news. Keep up to date on our website, aptnnews.ca, or get the APTN News app. You can watch the whole episode of In Focus today, which included a woman from Namaska Cree Nation in Quebec in isolation with friends after a trip to the Dominican Republic. She shared that story. You can watch that. It re-airs tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Central, right here on APTN. I'm Melissa Ridgen. Take care.